Name any place. They take New Jersey, they take Texas, and they say, okay, now you're in an open air prison and none of you have any goddamn rights, and we get to put our boot on your neck, and now you are servants. You're subhuman. Now you sit there, Texas, and take it. And if any of you ever fight back, you're all goddamn terrorists in Texas. What do you think Texas would do? Texas would blow up, those Texas citizens would blow up every goddamn occupier, and you know it. They would murder every occupier, and you know it. How much patience can the Palestinians have? They're sitting there in the West Bank doing nothing. They've been perfectly peaceful. And what did they get for the peace, man? What did they get for the peace? All they got was occupation. 56 years of occupation.
They've been offered peace 6 times. So when you keep.
But hey, we bow down to authority. Joe Biden's ego demands a second term. Screw Joe Biden's ego. We're gonna lose the goddamn country to a tyrant and a dictator who's telling you ahead of time that he's gonna murder people. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Jesus Christ. And Merrick Garland, you're the worst attorney general ever. What did you wait 2.5 years for? That wasn't serious enough to bring the case? You goddamn loser! You incompetent, selfish prick! Merrick Garland's the worst! They should have brought this case on day one. Day one! Oh, well, he's among the elites, he's a former president. None of us want to be held accountable, so we'll wait to see if he's gonna run. The worst! Democrats, stop being such losers and pick someone who could beat the tyrant. Otherwise, we're gonna lose the country. And they're gonna put you in jail, you dumbasses. Wake up.
See, in America,
Piers, you're totally guilty. You're guilty. You're guilty. Because you support Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has done 2,000 times worse, and you know it. You won't even run it on this show.
Okay.
You won't even run it on this show because Donald Trump, what he says is so much worse than anything a Democrat has ever said about him. So you won't even run it on this show. So that's it. Are you telling Donald Trump, you better shut up? You better not say any of those gross things that you always say. You know that he joked about smashing Nancy Pelosi's husband's head in with a hammer.
Yeah, and the truth
One
is,
of his
Cenk,
lunatic fans tried to murder Nancy Pelosi's husband, and he's like, it's so funny.
Here's
Do
the
you
problem.
know that when they try to murder his vice president,
Here's the problem,
he then
Cenk.
turned around and said he deserved it.
Here's the problem.
He's a psycho,
Here's
and you
the problem.
defend him every day, Piers.
Here's the problem.
And they'll come up with new excuses, and they'll blame the Palestinians again for their own occupation. Do you know who's morally responsible for an occupation? The occupier, not the occupied. Well, hey, we offered to give them 45% back of the land and they didn't take it, so we get to occupy them for another 50 years. Oh, well, they didn't take this deal. They didn't, we didn't like how they were talking about us. They don't love us. They don't love us. Starve them to death. Starve them to death. And blame UNRWA because they're trying to bring them food. They're trying to bring them food. Let's just lie about UNRWA and pretend they're working with Hamas. What's your evidence, Israel? Zero.
Well, that kid who was murdered in Gaza by an Israeli bomb, and bombs murder people. If you can't get that through your thick head, oh, what's the big deal? We're not terrorists. We're not terrorists. We just drop a bomb on them and grandmothers just explode. Their heads explode, their bodies explode. Hey, there's a baby in that building. Explode. Oh, what? I'm not a terrorist. I'm not a terrorist. Oh my God, a guy with no power did it. Terrorist. No, it's old, it's stupid. No one believes it anymore. So you can scream it into the void. You could do anything you like, but we're gonna call it out. Jared Kushner is a monster. Anyone who supports pushing the Palestinians out of Gaza Strip is a monster. Now talking about stealing their land and profiting off of it. I can't imagine anything more monstrous other than when he says, let's finish them. And not him. Israel should be kicked out of the United Nations immediately. I mean, if somebody came to my house and said, this is a house of darkness and you are filled with hate, I'd be like, get the hell out of my house. You grab him by the scruff of his neck and throw his ass out. And say, I dare you to set one foot in here and see what happens with a long goddamn arm. What are we sitting here taking insults from this maniac for? The United Nations sits there, okay, sorry. And a whole bunch of diplomats walked out, of course. Make Palestine, declare Palestine a state right now. That's how Israel came to be from the United Nations. And so if the United Nations was good enough to declare Israel a state, obviously they could declare Palestine a state. And every day that they don't, it's actually deeply, deeply racist against the Palestinians. Saying they're the only nation, only people on earth who cannot govern themselves. Is that the maniacally racist thing that America and the United Nations and Israel agreed to? And the fact is, yes, Israel and America are that deeply racist against Palestinians, Muslims, etc. You can't govern yourself. You're savages. That is the most obviously racist thing I have ever seen.
The parents I just read on CNN are writing the names of the kids on their calves, on their legs, so that if they are killed in a bombing and they're mutilated, they could find their bodies. Imagine writing the name of your child on their legs so that you could find them in the rubble after Israel or any government drops a bomb on them. And I need the West to understand something. Bombs kill people. And do you know how they kill people? They incinerate them alive, or their heads explode. So what happened in Israel was a disaster and disgusting. But you have to be equally honest and equally outraged at the immorality of incinerating babies and grandmothers and aunts and uncles, which is what we're doing right now. America cannot keep sending aid for death and destruction. Enough of the occupation. End it today. End it today. It's monstrous.
That is not what the statement of Netanyahu
said.
said.
From the river to the sea.
He said from the river to the sea, they need to have control of their security. What are you talking about?
That's exactly what the Palestinians say. When we say from the river to the sea, they say it's political. But when it's a Muslim,
exactly not
genocide. No, they didn't actually do it. When it's Israel, when they're actually doing the genocide, no. From the river to the sea, as they're in the middle of the genocide, you think no big deal, no big deal.
That is such an ignorant statement. When the Palestinians say from the river to the sea, they literally are saying without Jews and Israelis living there and pushing them into the sea.
Because this monster is actually killing them, butchering them.
Because that's why you've condemned the statement.
You've got a theoretical statement on one side, and on the other side you're actually butchering.
So why did you condemn the statement? Because you know that's what it means. That's why you condemned it.
Why don't you condemn Netanyahu, that monster who just said from the river to the sea?
Because he's not saying that they need to displace the Palestinians.
Here, Ben. You're the most biased man in America.
And I do condemn Netanyahu.
The Muslims can't say it, but the Israelis can say it all day long as they do it. They're murdering Palestinians as we speak.
Campuses. There is one case of overwhelming violence, and that happened last night at UCLA. And it was pro-Israeli protesters that violently attacked the peace protesters that didn't do anything. They attacked an old lady and said, "Oh yeah, good luck trying to defend yourself, old lady." These are vicious, vigilante thugs, and they have done more violence than all of the peace protesters in the country combined. Where are the arrests? Where's the outrage? Where's the indignation? You pretend that you care about protecting students, but you only care about protecting one side, whereas the other side is assaulted.
No, I don't actually. Debased
and humiliated. And all you want to do is cancel their speech. You're part of cancel culture, and admit it right now.
Can I
You're
respond?
talking about protesting people.
Can I respond?
Americans.
Can I respond?
Americans.
By the way,
okay, this is not the United States of Israel.
Fine.
Fortunately, because the worst of them are dominant, just like in Iran.
Just like Netanyahu and all the thousands that he murdered. Okay.
What? He murdered?
Yeah. You do a war and you have a kill ratio of 1,000, sometimes 100 to 1, sometimes even more. And that kills thousands of Palestinians and go, "Oh golly gee, did I kill all of them?" It was an accident. When the terrorist Arabs who can't govern themselves, who are vicious terrorists, they do it, that is terrorism. When the state of Israel does it, it is not terrorism. And we killed 100 times more, but it is not terrorism. We bomb in the middle of a crowded city and murder their civilians, but that is not terrorism because the state does it and people Dennis Prager likes does it. But the Arabs and the Palestinians are vicious terrorists by nature and can never govern themselves. Boy, advocate for freedom, Dennis. You're doing great.
Everything I have ever done. But all you have is hatred. Oh, he's an anti-Semite. Kill the Muslims, kill the Palestinians. And once we kill them, by the way, we'll blame them for it. Israel had to murder all those babies in Palestine because Hamas made us do it. Then why are you listening to Hamas? Why are you letting Hamas drive your agenda? Well, you don't have to kill those civilians. It's a mass assassination factory. That is, the Palestinians are what? They're what? The idea is that they are savages and that Muslims are too violent and cannot control themselves, so they must be occupied for 56 brutal, disgusting years. So I've had enough of the bigotry against Muslims and Palestinians, and I need you to speak out against that instead of covering every outrageous, atrocious action of the right-wing government of Israel and going, oh, it's anti-Semitism. No, and there is global anti-Semitism. There's anti-Semitism here in this country. 2 synagogues were shot up, Pittsburgh and in Southern California. We fight against that all the time. But then whenever Israel is criticized, people go, oh, no, it's anti-Semitism. No, there's real anti-Semitism.
Okay, Cenk, let me
respond. Instead of attacking that, all you guys ever do is hide behind the veil of anti-Semitism. Do you know why Palestinians might not like Israelis? Because they've been oppressed for 56 straight years.
I hear you.
Okay, listen, brother. As you see me bitch slapping you right here on national airwaves.
The only thing you can bitch slaps.
What part of that seems like cozying up? What's the part of that seems like cozying up to the right? I think you're an idiot. I think you love that coup on January 6th. I think you hate our democracy. I think you hate our Constitution. So what part of that is cozying up to the right wing? Bitch?
I hate snakes like you who try to get in as good as you can with a weak right like Charlie Kirk when you have weaponized political violence yourself.
Oh, Charlie Kirk is weak right and you're strong right.
At the same time,
Interesting.
at the same time, you say, wait a second. Oh, I can't believe the J6ers coup d'etat. You didn't give a damn. You've never given a damn. We have your words on record. You flip-flop. You're the biggest flip-flopper on the left. You're known for it. People make fun of you for it because you move positions. You and Anna Kasparian both move positions like a tube of toothpaste.
Oh, Trump! I love Trump! Oh, I love Trump so much.
And all you care about is Trump derangement syndrome. All you have is Trump derangement syndrome.
All right, let me try.
TDS, always on display.
But wait a minute.
Time out.
I gotta say one thing.
You both made your feelings clear.
How can you say that I'm cozying up to the right and say I have Trump derangement syndrome?
All right.
Make up your mind. You're a very poor thing to interrupt Israeli parents.
Brought to you by
like you do. You interrupt.
Propaganda, total, utter terrorist propaganda is what you guys are doing.
It is.
So,
you're defending the terrorists.
It's only your
you guys are doing terrorist propaganda on behalf of the IDF. You guys have killed 40 times more.
Hang on, don't speak over each other. We can't hear.
You're supporting a
terrorist.
Hang on.
So they always interrupt.
Finish his point, and I will come to Emily and Ben. Cenk?
Look, whenever you criticize Israel, everybody goes, no, interrupt. Don't let him make points against our beloved Israel. Israel is not part of America. We have to stop sending them money to go slaughter all those innocent people.
So come on. Bobby, they started with 10%, now they got 2/3, and you're still saying not enough. Not enough. Squeeze the Palestinians more. Squeeze them more. So tell me, when do the Palestinians get a state? Can they do the same exact thing that Israel did? Say, go to the United Nations and ask for a state. Can they do that? Isn't that fair?
Well, they gave them a state. They gave them Gaza, and they used.
They didn't, Bobby. Look at it. They cut off the water, the power, the border. That's not a state. You know that's not a state. It's technically not a state. It's legally not a state. It's a reality not a state. It's come on. It's not in the reality-based world. You think Gaza controls its own borders? You think it controls its own water and power right now? Or can Israel obliterate it at any time that it wants?
I tried to get Hamas. I tried to get the hostages a little bit. But as I was doing that, I murdered. And I dug up their cemeteries. And I took their ancestors and I rubbed it in their face. Look at me spitting on your ancestors. And then I bombed their hospitals. Then I bombed their schools. Then I bombed 85% of the buildings. And then now a quarter of them, 500,000 people, are starving. 80% of the world's people that are starving in the world are in Gaza right now. But if you think that's all an accident, they didn't mean to do any of that.
80% of the starving people in the world are in Gaza right now?
That's right, according to the United Nations. I know you're going to say, the United Nations is anti-Semitic. We don't count it. Nothing
Considering
counts.
the population of Yemen is like 35 million people, and there are only 2 million people in Gaza, and I'm like half the population of Yemen. That's just one country. That number is insane. There's no way that number is true.
Yes, it doesn't matter. You're good with it. You're good with the deaths. You're good with the starvation. They haven't accomplished their objective yet. Their objective is vengeance and terrorism.
Then they're doing a really bad job of it. Why haven't they killed 400,000 Palestinians?
Because they wouldn't be able to get away with it. Okay,
so they're trying to kill indiscriminately, but only as much as they can get away from. But they've also managed to kill 25% of the civilians are militants. And
so your big defense of this genocide is, well, we didn't kill them all.
There is no genocide.
We didn't kill them all.
Yeah.
I mean, we butchered 27,000 people, but we didn't kill them all. Billions on the way. What is Israel doing? moving and displacing millions of people and killing innocent civilians. It is the exact definition of a genocide. I don't tolerate any anti-Semitism, but I think that the occupation is decaying the moral core of Israel. How long are you going to oppress these people?
But Cenk,
and I know this guy, all he wants to do is an ad hominem attack. He's a liar. And you could tell exactly what kind of indecent human being he is. But the main reason he's doing it is to avoid the topic. When are you going to stop murdering Palestinians and cheerleading it?
Okay.
If you're talking about genocide, you're the one right now doing the genocide.
May I respond? Because the American people are deceived by the media into thinking Israel isn't doing it. That they're the victims and they're the, oh my God, golly, we're so tiny and small. Those big Arab countries with all their weapons. What weapons? None of their weapons even land. Okay, so like, oh, Israel's being oppressed. For the former CIA director to come out and say, no, it's Israel that's doing the terrorism. And now we're going to have a huge, giant problem that America's going to have to deal with.
I also think that 41,000 at a bare minimum Palestinians dead. Over 25,000 women and children. Imagine a stadium filled with women and children, all dead. Israel did that, and you go, no big deal. Oh, the occupation for 57 years, no big deal. We're the victims. You sound preposterous, ridiculous.
Okay, get
hold on.
real.
Okay. Here's the thing.
And besides,
First of
Donald
all,
Trump is a criminal.
hold
So
on.
Clay,
The
what do you want us
people-
to do? You pretend to be in favor of freedom and you pretend to be in favor of equality in the Constitution. Donald Trump is a lifelong criminal. He's broken every law that we can imagine. And you go, oh, let him go. Let him go. He's our leader. He's our beloved leader. He should be allowed. He should be above the law.
You are like a guy who got broken up with and can't get over it. This is so deranged. Like
I
Trump
don't
was
like
never
Trump. Why
charged
do you
with a
keep going to
crime
an analogy
until
that
he
never makes
decided to
any
run as a
sense?
Republican after 75 years of being a public figure.
all right, let me bring in
Trump
hang
because
on.
I've always known he was a pea-brained little idiot. Donald Trump is the dumbest man we've ever seen in public life, and these guys are pretending he's smart. He's like, well, how could he be a successful? He's not a successful businessman. 6 major bankruptcies. The moron built 3 casinos in the same city.
He had a
They
successful
all went
television
bankrupt.
show. He's built tons
He's the
of
only
buildings.
hold on.
What has
Yeah, he had
Kamala
a
Harris
television
done?
show
What has
where he
Joe
yapped
Biden
like
done?
he always
They
does.
never made a living.
You want to talk about cursed? If you think the Palestinians are cursed because of 36 children killed during October 7th, how cursed is Israel for the 15,000 children that they slaughtered? They crushed their skulls. They lit them on fire. They destroyed and killed tens of thousands of children. And now you're saying, oh my God, because I see one with my own eyes, that's Israeli. Oh, the Israeli lives are worth, what, 10,000 Palestinian children? 100,000 Palestinian? Is there any number of Palestinian children that you would have any sympathy for? So screw Hamas, but that does not justify Israel slaughter after slaughter after slaughter and go, oh yeah, Hamas made me do it. Hamas didn't make you do it. Israel is reveling in it. It is now a terrorist state. It's rolling tanks into the West Bank. They've taken Trump's ridiculous plan in Gaza as a green light. And of course, this was all arranged ahead of time. That's why Netanyahu supported Trump. That's why Trump got $337 million from the Adelson family. So now they're rolling tanks into the West Bank to slaughter more Palestinian children. So I hate that both sides are doing this, and I hate that Israel is doing it 15,000 times more, because that's how many more babies they've killed and children that they've killed than the one that the entire U.S. and Western media is focused on. Can we not see that when it's an Israeli baby, that the whole world is like, this is the most important thing in the world? But I don't mind that 1%. But then don't tell me that 15,000 Palestinian
How many parades were there in Israel celebrating the casualties in Gaza? I mean, how many parades were there of Israelis celebrating the dead
more slaughter in Gaza?
And people will say, oh no, you can't give Trump credit for doing the right thing. Oh, goddamn right I can. But my guess is that's about a 5% chance. And 95% chance Trump is gonna go, money, I want the money. Because that's what corrupt son of a bitch he is, just like Joe Biden, just like your beloved Kamala Harris, who says, green light the massacres. So good luck, America. Your politicians are the most corrupt people on earth, and they will let you, any foreign government, any corporate donor, kill anyone they like. and do it with our money.
And over 85% of Palestinians have been displaced. There's 1.1 million people starving to death, and you still can't see it. And that's what's amazing about bias, that you look at how they have killed over 33,000 people. Okay, say 6,000 is a must, say 9,000 is a must. You still have 25,000 dead women and children, and you go, what atrocities? They have kill zones. Why did they kill the 3 Israeli hostages? Because they were in a kill zone. In a kill zone, they murder everyone in the kill zone. There's sniper bullets in kids' heads because they were in a kill zone. They've killed more journalists than all other conflicts this year combined. They've killed 3 times the amount of humanitarian aid workers. The World Central Kitchen, they murdered those people. There was a 6-year-old who was stuck. They told the IDF, we are going to get her. The IDF said, okay. The IDF goes and finds her. They'd already killed her, the rest of her family members in that car. They then killed not only the 6-year-old girl, but everyone in the ambulance that came to rescue them. And you're saying you can't see a single Israeli atrocity? And one last thing. They have kept these people. Hold on. And the last atrocity is keeping 5.5 million Palestinians prisoners. And Prager says, oh, not 75 years, only 57 years we've kept these people prisoners. And think about the absurd claims that you guys are making. Threaten politicians in the West that if they don't agree with Israel's war against Iran, that they're going to fall. And remember, he's an Israeli agent. Are you saying Israel will murder politicians in the West or get rid of them politically through bribery or whatever else? What do you mean the politicians in the West will fall if they don't agree to back Israel's war against Iran?
Yeah, we will not vote for them anymore.
Oh, no, well, you don't vote for them now. You're not in our country. What do you mean the politicians will fall?
We live in democracy, and we have the right to bring them up and to bring them down. Those who agree with Ayatollah, we don't want them in office. And all the sympathizers with terrorists like yourself, we don't want them even to be in our country.
Who is we, and how are you bringing down politicians in the West if they dare to defy Israel? Tell me how you're bringing them down.
I already answered you that.
Are you going to murder them, or are you going to bribe them? Or are you going to bribe someone else? Who are you going to do? I mean, terrorists are hiding in their civilian population, so they made us kill all their civilians. As I explained last night about the Armenian genocide, where were they supposed to go, the Armenians that were resisting the Ottoman occupation? They were supposed to set up military barracks and go, hey, Ottomans, we're right here, come and kill us. That's not how any of these resistance movements work. The occupation is brutal. It is the cancer in the Middle East. It is what is causing. And even if you politely ask the United Nations for your nation, we're going to slap you across the face and go, don't you dare fight back. And we're going to occupy you indefinitely. But I don't know why you would ever do violence. Meanwhile, on the Israeli side, you have all the power in the world. You're the one that is occupying them. They are not occupying you. You are the one doing exterminating them. They are always like worried, oh my God, they would kill us all. Yeah, maybe Hamas would, but you're actually killing them all right now. It's not theoretical. We can all see the dead babies. We can all see the dead children and civilians and women. And to have all of that gigantic military might and say, I am never going to stop occupying you. There's nothing you can do, whether it's going to the UN, diplomacy, a peace deal today with the Palestinian Authority, or violence. There's nothing you could do to end this oppression.
We're just
Alan,
one right now.
Hey, Alan, you deserve a tall glass of shut up juice. So can you just shut up for a second and let someone who knows what they're doing?
You're so right, Piers. You're so right. We're so unified right now.
Okay. I will not sit here and stand for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me. You don't need to do that. You don't
blasphemy against you. Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ, you loser? Okay, can I just give the correct answer for once? Chip, you guys don't want to admit that they're the problem. They're the cancer in the Democratic Party. So you blindly lash out at the voters, at information, at social media, and you want to shut down anyone who disagrees with you. That's not the correct answer. And remember, guys, you also have donors. Beware of the donors. Don't forget that, and don't let your guard down, okay?
But so on the Democratic side, we have got to elect a populist. If we don't, we're going to make the same mistake we made when they anointed Hillary Clinton, when they anointed Joe Biden, and when they anointed Kamala Harris. So my Democratic friends, how many times are you going to lose before you realize that mainstream media and the establishment are lying to you?
The whole thing is built on money. I mean, the first thing that Joe Biden took out of the first COVID relief bill was the $15 minimum wage. He was lying about it from day one. He buried that. And why? It was, again, polling over 2/3. Why would you take that out? Why wouldn't you let the Republicans defeat it, if they're going to defeat it, and then use it as a tool against them to win elections? The reason you don't do any of that is because your donors ordered you not to do that.
Start of this war is after what Hamas did on October the 7th. What is morally justifiable in terms of a response by Israel? And I don't have the answer. I'm just curious what you think it is.
Special forces back. Special forces work. They worked in the case of bin Laden, and oftentimes they worked in the case of ISIS. We did not do giant bombings of Iraq, Syria, etc. We had plenty of war crimes on our hands too, as America executed the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, but nothing on the scale of what Israel has done. To give you a sense of it, we killed less civilians in 20 years in Afghanistan than Israel killed in 2 months in Gaza.
All of these lobbyists and donors control our politicians 100%. So in terms of victory, just get a new Democratic candidate, because they won't have as big a track record of selling out to every donor, including AIPAC, and you'll be a little bit better off and more likely to win. But do I have any confidence that any Democrat or Republican in this country is going to do anything but serve AIPAC's interests? No, of course not. They'll do exactly as they're ordered to do by all their donors: big oil, big banks, big pharma, and definitely AIPAC.
Arguing is Israel here has already killed about 3,000 civilians.
Wait, hang on.
Hold on.
No, I got to ask you about that. Where are you getting that number from? You're getting it from Hamas. Where's that number coming from?
And everyone who has access to it, they are trying to confirm it. But Dan, what difference does it make if it's 2,900 or 3,000? Are you pretending that Israel isn't dropping massive bombs inside Gaza?
No, what I'm doing is saying
they haven't tried to move 1 million people. Are you pretending that they're not bombing the living crap out of Gaza right now?
Not yet.
Because please don't pretend that.
Look here. Here. On behalf of the Democratic Party, I throw it in. Biden's done. If you go with this guy, guaranteed loss. And by the way, everyone in Democratic leadership, if they stick with Joe Biden, should be fired after the election. You know why they're doing this? You know why they put up this feeble old man, this elder abuse that they're doing right now? Because understand something that's so important in politics and nobody ever tells you. Joe Biden's already president. He retires as President Biden for the rest of his life, okay? But everyone around him, if there's a different candidate, they all lose their power. They're not going to be able to work for Governor Gavin Newsom or Governor Josh Shapiro or anyone else. They are tied to Joe Biden, people at the White House, people on his campaign team, people at the DNC. You think they don't see him in the White House every day? You don't think that they see him going, this was at his best. They pumped him up to get him to his best. Imagine him at his worst. They all know that, but they cared more about their own jobs than they cared about the American people. I don't think it's a mistake at all. I think they're trying to drive the aid organizations out. They're trying to limit the aid as much as humanly possible so they can inflict maximum damage on the Palestinian civilians. Now, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and thinking maybe they think in their twisted, immoral mind that's going to create pressure on the Palestinians to somehow do something against Hamas. But the more likely explanation is it's collective punishment. And what we're seeing is clearly a genocide.
Folks, if you're listening to this, you don't believe me, I'm a liar. Cenk is the truth teller. Just research it. Use Google as mainstream as it gets. I'm not asking you to go on anything obscure.
George, you're talking, gee, I wonder which ally claimed that they were still enriching uranium. Ooh, can I guess? It was Israel. Oh, right. And then our intelligence agencies that led us into the war in Iraq, some of those, by the way, tons of them said no. They're not enriching uranium, but a couple of guys, look, some neocons in the intelligence agencies said, yeah, I have some evidence that I'm not going to share publicly that no one else on the planet agrees with. Oh, but trust us, we got to go to war with Iran. We think they're enriching uranium, and that's what Netanyahu tells us.
I want to recount, great, but they did. They recounted 3 times. They did hand recounts. Then they went to court 60 times. And guys, this is definitive. He couldn't present one piece of evidence. He had 60 shots at it. You know why he couldn't present one piece of evidence? Because there is no evidence. There is no evidence, and he knows it. He made it up from day one. He's a giant liar. He's always been a pathological liar. And he came in and was like, oh, I don't like losing. I don't like losing. I don't like it. Boo-hoo. Oh, I think they stole it. They made up 7 million votes. Hugo Chavez, they blamed the Kraken, all these insane donkeys or mules or whatever the hell. Get it out of here. Hey, all of MAGA, show me one piece of evidence in court, not BS. Oh, I said it on TV, doesn't that count? No, all you ever do is lie on TV. All the politicians lie on TV. Go to court, show the evidence. Until then, shut up and stop trying to steal elections and stop hating America. America's about elections, it's about democracy.
Are you angry about that? I mean, does it upset you as much as, bankers giving money to Republicans?
No. The corporations give way more than the unions. So
it depends which corporations. That's not really true.
Look it up. You can Google it. It's really easy. Do I object to taking out union money from politics? Hell no, I don't object. Take it all out. Take the union money out. Take the corporate money out. Take all the big money out. They're supposed to represent us and not the donors, no matter who the donors are. And what is so damaging about the removal of Glass-Steagall is now they could do their financial derivative gambling with depositor money. Boy, isn't that nice. They take your money and they gamble with it. And if they lose, well, that's a sad day for you. But if they win, they keep the profits. You know what that is? That's privatizing the gains and socializing the losses. So,
look, as I said in that tweet, my mortal enemy is the establishment. The one that says, no, the politicians are honest. No, the donor money doesn't affect anyone. This absurdity of CNN and New York Times pretending that the donor money doesn't affect the candidates and it doesn't affect the bills. When they start talking about legislation and we're talking about, hey, can we negotiate drug prices? And you're not talking about big pharma spending billions, if not trillions of dollars in lobbying and donating to the politicians, et cetera. No, it's utter corruption. And we cannot beat that corruption unless we unite.
Should Israel leave Hamas 80% intact? Is that good for anybody?
No. So now we get to the absurdity of what Israel says. We are going to stay there until all of Hamas is gone. How? How do we know if they're all gone? How do we know if they've surrendered? How do we know if the Palestinians have turned on Hamas? These are all impossible standards meant to eradicate Gaza entirely, and in fact, they've almost done it already. 90% of the people in Gaza are homeless. We're picking out the body parts of family members every single day in Gaza. It is one of the, and now even the New York Times and every human rights group acknowledges this is one of the worst massacres, the biggest war crimes committed in our lifetimes. America in 20 years in Afghanistan did not kill as many civilians
but should they leave
as Israel
Hamas?
has killed in 2 months.
But it's not just the Germans, it's every ethnicity that's ever had more power than their neighbors. They attack their neighbors, and then they say, oh, we were just defending ourselves.
That's what Russia said about Ukraine.
Literally every single imperial power says it every single time. Nobody ever says, oh yeah, we're the bad guys and we're evil and we're gonna go take your land and kill almost all your people and destroy your healthcare system. No, they say, oh, we were just defending ourselves. What could we do? And that October 7th, the fact that the IDF knew about it, then we see how sophisticated they are in blowing up pagers, walkie-talkies, and everything else. And now you're telling me the IDF is a bunch of bungling clowns that accidentally let October 7th happen?
The reason is because if you're like Trump and you literally don't feel the empathy, you think, why the hell would I go in the military, get killed for someone else? What a sucker. No, I'm going to stay out of the military. I'm going to stay alive. I'm going to make a ton of money and I'm going to look out for myself. And he assumes, because everybody does this, you assume that everyone thinks like you do, but they don't. So Trump assumes everybody's as much of a dirtbag as he is. And because he doesn't feel it, he doesn't feel the empathy. And so He's like, yeah, you'd be an idiot, a sucker and a loser to go into the military and have a sacrifice for other people. So you see the spectrum. Even if you think Trump's not on that end and you think I'm wrong about that, you get that there are people on that end, right?
How do we know if Hamas is all dead right now? We don't know anything. They keep making up numbers. They say, oh, we had killed 15,000 Hamas members. Then they went down to 9,000. Then they went back up to 14,000. So how do we know when they're all dead? And if you're trying to kill all of Hamas, well, you're going to have to kill a lot more than 40,000 Palestinians. Are we willing to do what we did in World War II, use nuclear weapons? Are we willing to firebomb as we did in Dresden and in Tokyo? That makes us monsters. Why would you want Israel to be monsters? Why don't you want them to have a beautiful independent state of Israel and a safe haven for Jews and a beautiful independent state of Palestinians? The idea that the Palestinians are the unique people on earth that cannot get to peace, that they are so violent, they have such a savage ideology they can't get to peace, is both racist and absurd.
So my point is that there is no moral equivalent to what happened on October 7th.
I actually totally disagree. I think what Israel has done since is far, far worse, and it's empirical. So they've killed 62,000 now. Hamas killed 1,200. My heart breaks for that 1,200. There was kids in there. There was terrible things that were done in there. Now Israel has done every one of those things, but times 60. So don't tell me that Israel is more moral. I would argue they are more immoral. And especially when you're Goliath, you have a responsibility to tread a little bit more carefully. And Israel has done the exact opposite. And remember, they're the ones who started it by occupying them in the first place. There's not a single Texan that would ever tolerate what Israel has done to the Palestinians.
So,
and that 2028 primary is going to be the most important vote of your life. If you vote for another one of these establishment figures, we're going to get slaughtered in the next election. How many times have we said on the Young Turks, populist is the way to go? Bernie would have won, and the polling indicated that. It was indisputable polling, and mainstream media lied to you, and the Democratic leadership lied to you. And I'm trying to get people to stop believing in the Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden lies. How much clearer does it have to be? The guy still says that he would have won, and that Kamala would have won, even though we just had the election and she lost. Please stop listening to these guys.